Welcome back to the fourth installment of this Terry portrait project. Today I'm working on the bottom right hand figure, trying to render in some skin tones. By working on the checked shirt to roughly about completion, I noticed that the faces themselves looked a little bit washed out, and so it was my intention to render them anyway more fully, but the balance of the whole work dictated that it become more of a priority. So using a kind of modified 5-pencil technique, I work usually from the lightest values to the darkest values. So with this face, I will be working with 4H first of all to build in my lightest lights. And if need be, strengthen these tones by going over again with 2H. Just to confirm with you, I normally don't work this fast. This has been sped up. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at the face as a set of contours, and imagining the values as different contours within a polarized face. And I try to scan the whole face and find which parts of the face these values can be found. I may have to make an explanatory video of how I work this. So I'm working on the features here. A little bit of attention and detail in the eyes was needed, and then working down on the cheek and the crease from the nose down into the cheek. Basically just trying to model the face into a more plausible 3D form.
We might have it on record that he's might there. That's okay. I'll close the door. Can you close the door? Okay, thanks,
Just working on the dark recess on the eye there and the bags. I'm sure Terry won't mind me saying that. The bags under his eyes, and of course the shading around the chin or the jowl. Here I'm working up the side of the skull. And in a way that is informed by a little bit of study into anatomy and the shape of the skull underneath. I think it is important to study these aspects so that when you're shading or rendering or drawing. You're doing it from a knowledge base of what is going on underneath the skin surface. Knowing this will influence how you decide to draw, how you decide to render, largely in terms of directional strokes. Here I make a note about my tool, so looking at the computer from the furthest coming towards the drawing pad, we have a putty eraser, there is an eraser pencil, the first of my brushes, a paper stump, a fan brush, which is my favourite one for cleaning up all the rubber poop that comes off when you scrub away at the surface, and another blending stump. I think it's important to try to keep the surface as tidy as possible, because sometimes if graphite gets mixed in with the rubber droppings that come off, if there's any kind of residue, then the graphite makes a grainy texture, which is not always pleasing, not always useful to the drawing. There you just saw me angling the pencil in a low kind of oblique way, and I do that for shading in a kind of softer way, as opposed to if you angle the pencil more perpendicular to the pad, you get stronger lines, and with a 4H or a 2H, which are very hard pencils because of the clay content mixed in with the graphite, you can actually make grooves into the paper. Sometimes you can do this for deliberate effect, but in terms of portraits, the face is very subtle, and you have to be careful with the kind of lines that you make. It's very easy to make to overstate a line so that it becomes visually intrusive. Another helpful point might be that when you're working on portraits in graphite, sometimes it's actually useful to work from a black and white version, because that way it's easier to translate the reference photo's monochrome into graphite values on the page. But with a little bit of experience, you get the hang of it, and you can anticipate what's actually needed. So that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next installment.